Wherever you are is home, and the earth is paradise. Wherever you set your feet is holy land. You don't live off it like a parasite. You live in it, and it in you. Or you don't survive. And that is the only worship there is. Right. So our next reading is from a book called The Best Buddhist Writing of 2005. And this is a piece by Thich Nhat Hanh, the Buddhist monk. The principal meaning of the practice of beginning anew is to bathe in the water of compassion. Compassion gives us a chance to return to the joy of being alive. Once the mind is concentrated on loving kindness and compassion, their energy is produced and strengthened. When the nectar of compassion flows in your heart, you can see clearly how to put an end to all your afflictions. The beginning anew practice is based on the compassion of the earth. When we touch the earth, we take refuge in it. We receive its solid and inclusive energy. The earth embraces us and helps us transform our ignorance, suffering, and despair. Wherever we are, we can be in touch with the earth. Wherever we are, we can bow down to receive its energy of stability and fearlessness. As we touch the earth, we can follow our breathing. We release all our instability, fear, anxiety, disease, and anger. We know the earth can absorb our negativity without reacting to us or judging us. In this way, we are able to transform what is painful and difficult to accept within us. We are able to strengthen our capacity to look, speak, and act with understanding and compassion towards ourselves, our loved ones, and all members of our society. Touching the earth communicates our gratitude, joy, and acceptance to our Mother Earth. With this practice, we cultivate a relationship with the earth, and in doing so, we restore our balance, our wholeness, and our peace. Karen Van Fossan began serving as our minister last fall. She also serves the larger community as a pastoral counselor and advocate for the prevention of child abuse. She is well known to us, and she is very welcome.
Okay, you don't have to raise your hand. But I'm curious if anyone else here ever had their palm read and paid to have it done after waiting in line for a full hour in Boulder, Colorado, or would have given the chance. Okay, so just an aside, speaking of Boulder, I can't resist telling you just a couple things, and then I promise I'll get right back on track. But before I moved there to Boulder, I was promised by a former North Dakotan that Boulder was the only city in the country where no one would bat an eye if you passed a completely stark naked person walking blithely along the sidewalk. So naturally, I was curious. And before I moved, I literally practiced, kind of in my mind's eye, how would I kind of chit-chat about the weather with someone who knew all about it based on their wardrobe? But I have to confess, as you might imagine, I saw 0 unclad pedestrians anywhere, ever, in Boulder, Colorado. Nonetheless, I did have my palm read, and my aura seen, and my tarot cards spread, and my relationship future foretold, all at the same downtown community festival, in between massages and organic green kale smoothies, as you might imagine. But I learned a few things about palm reading from the palm reader. Palm readers don't, as you may know, don't just read the lines in your hands, they also can read your fingers and the directions that they point. So apparently, I am forever going in 2 different directions. The palmist reported to me when I was about 29 or so that sometimes I did what my parents wanted, and sometimes I didn't. This confirmed for me something I had suspected for some time. I'm human. So I'm guessing that I'm not the only one in this place who is human in this way, who's ever gone one way and also another at the very same time, toward independence and against it, toward aspirations and against them, toward whatever we long for, and also getting in our own way. Which brings me to another story. Once upon a time, there were people. Maybe they came to be in a garden, maybe not. Maybe they have many stories of many comings to be, but we trust they came to be. Once upon a time, things went wrong. We don't know anymore exactly how. Maybe they were very, very hungry. Maybe there was an accident, a terrible misunderstanding. But we know they were hurting in some way. And somehow or another, they came to believe they were pushed from that garden, out of nature and separate from the earth. Once upon a time, passed through many generations, a story went around that this expulsion was their fault, and all their pain came from sin, theirs. According to this story, people were deeply bad, and underneath the story, people were deeply hurt. And because in this story, people deserved their hurt, after many generations, the hurting people started hurting people, and not just people. This is a difficult story. This is the other direction. If we long to belong to the earth, we need another chapter to this story, where we notice what we value in the earth within ourselves. As long as we believe we're bad, or people are bad, or all people are bad, or some people are bad, in contrast to a good earth, we support the very notion that got us here. That people, some or all, are not of this marvelous earth, and home isn't home anymore. The bad choices we make solely and collectively that do our planet harm or anybody harm are not because we're bad, but because we're hurt and we need healing. Which brings me to another kind of story, or you might call it a poem or something else, but I think of it as a gift to you from me. If you love the earth with one hand at the same time that you destroy the earth with the other, this is for you. If you have lost a place you love, a place that once meant freedom, water you used to laugh in, air that used to run fresh in your lungs, trees that used to hold you as if they would always be able to hold you, grasses that used to sing the way that only grasses sing, if you have watched this place die for progress or convenience, and you ended up too small somehow to keep this place alive, this is for you. If the absence of the buffalo alarms you, if the gunning of the gray wolf alarms you, if the absolute panic of the polar bear alarms you, if you want to holler, stop, stop this, stop that, stop something, while you know in your heart of hearts that you're hollering at yourself, that the thing you want undone is embedded in your habits. If it ever crosses your mind that maybe there is no place for you, for people like you and me, those who long to remember the ways to walk our planet without this heavy burden of convenience. Come, throw your heart to the ground, toss your soul to the wind, dance with your uneasiness as only lovers dance. Wander at the riverside with the plastic bottles and plastic bags and fragments of the dead. Bellow beside the ocean where crude has strangled sacredness. Find yourself at the frack pit and scribble your hopes on prayer flags and toss them to the surface and watch them turn to nothing, eaten alive by poisons you would struggle to pronounce. And then, you and I, let's turn this place around. In other words, The healing of the earth has everything to do with our own healing. We need to grieve for the earth and all the earth's creatures the way we grieve when our best friend dies or our grandfather gets cancer. And we do. We already do. We only need to let ourselves. 300 years ago, bison stormed this prairie. You could feel them coming hours before you saw them. The earth itself rumbled, giving way, giving strength. Wolves. There were wolves. They howled at every moon. There were cougars, hungry cougars, bears in North Dakota, prairie dogs, keeping the cycle of life in tender balance. This is what makes North Dakota home to me, the memory the land still holds of the way the prairie was born to be. When I feel the wind in the North Dakota Badlands, whether I'm on a hike or right there, it's as if my whole body remembers the storming of the bison. The sky here in North Dakota is so wide, so enamored of the moon, it's enough to make both wolf and human howl. I never knew life like all of this, but I long for it so much. So I go in two directions. With one hand, I grieve for all that I have named here this morning and more. I grieve. With the other hand, I hope for all that I have named here this morning and more. I hope. You may have heard that a couple of years ago, the extinct red fox turned up. In Oregon, of course. Just like that. Sometimes what we think is lost can come alive again. Holding both grief and hope, our hands do tell the future. It's not just what we do with our hands, what we purchase and we don't, how we travel and we don't, what we eat and we don't, as crucial as our actions are. But before our actions, and with our actions, may we remember our hands, mine and yours, are the living hands of earth. Namaste.
Our closing words. Grant me the ability to be alone. May it be my custom to go outdoors each day among the trees and grasses, among all growing things, and there may I be alone, and enter into prayer to talk with the one that I belong to. Go in peace, everyone. Have a great week. Namaste. Amen.